definitely, I think in terms of niche markets, organics are very critical. Now we want to talk about, what would trade and green growth strategies, how they could offer opportunities for creating sustainability. And I ask Ambassador Edwin Laurent to comment on that.
Thank you very much, Chair. And let me take the opportunity, first of all, to thank the CTA and the UN for organizing this panel, because I think that what it can do is help the understanding of what is really unique about SIDS and hopefully come up with solutions that are specifically tailored to them. And listening to the discussion today, I'm not a farmer, I can say, so therefore I probably am not singing from the same hymn sheet. I really wonder to what extent there is any difference between the diagnosis of the problems and the solutions being presented, as far, say, between a SID or an LDC. We're talking about import substitution. That seems to be the key message coming out. I'd hope that maybe in the discussion we might be able to get into what is so specific, what is different about a SID that it does not apply in the case of other developing countries. Of course, SIDs are developing countries, so they should do the same things that other developing countries could do to help develop. But just to use the case of food security, for, say, the Caribbean countries, where they are, most of them belong to the WTO. A lot of the prescriptions this morning just would not work. What is the major component of food in these countries? Protein, meat, fish. The fish in the area being depleted by international fishing principally. So there's a limit to protein from maritime sources. Protein from chicken, pork, the two easiest, cheapest, cannot compete with the United States, cannot compete with Brazil. Try to ban them, you'll be dragged before the WTO. In fact, long before you even get that, the US ambassador will be calling and instructing virtually the government to back off. So these are not the entire solutions. Of course, increasing production and being competitive, I think, which is one of the things Jethro mentioned, that is key. Once you have that, you'll have an opportunity to replace some of those imports, but not banning. The Caribbean tried this in Guyana when they flirted with socialism under a former President Burnham. This only increased smuggling, etc. It did not really transform the economy. You need to look at the consumption habits as well of the people. If they are consuming those various, the wheat flour and all of those things, how are you in a democratic society going to be able to tell them overnight that they must stop doing this? We also need, as the Undersecretary General said, we need a holistic approach. We need to look at consumption patterns as well. We need to have the competitive production. But trade as well is key, because trade is what is going to provide the income to import. Look at it, take the case of Singapore. Given its population, its size, of course, most of us would agree that Singapore is food secure, but its security does not come from its domestic production. Singapore could never feed its own people from its own internal production. Its security comes from being successful in trade, where it produces competitively internationally and gains income. For countries such as the Caribbean, given their proximity, where they are on trade links, it is key that they are well integrated into the system. Now, let me just give a couple of very quick maybe 2 or 3 examples of opportunities that are arising in green economy. One, in terms of goods. Barbados, for instance, because of the concerns about climate change and environmental concerns, has been able to capitalize on solar water heaters. It now has a big industry. Other possibilities are environmental goods, which have just not been commercialized. They might have been traditional, such as forestry products used in medicines, in food, in industry. These could be commercialized, identified, commercialized, and marketed. Then in terms of the services, we've already spoken of tourism. And I'd say in the case of ecotourism, this is an area which can be developed. An advantage of ecotourism is that, as I think the chair mentioned, there's the need to have the linkage with agriculture. Ecotourism tends generally to be in the hands of smaller and generally locally owned operations, which are more likely to use and be linked to domestic agriculture. There's a limit, though, to ecotourism, because you do not want too many people coming in to destroy the very pristine attraction that they are coming in for. So ecotourism will always be a fringe on mass tourism. The other related, which is not completely green, but it is an opportunity in tourism, which is festival tourism, which has been increasing in the Caribbean. We've got the Trinidad Carnival, we've got the Barbados Crop Over, which is an historical event. We also have, more recently, very successful jazz in St. Lucia. Now, just finally, I want to make a recommendation, add to what the UN and the Secretary General said regarding the holistic approach. I think it's key that we are not blinkered. We do not have a sectoral approach, that we are holistic. We take all sectors on board in pursuing the national goals. And that policy making must be inclusive, coherent, and it must transcend the individual objectives of the different sectors. Now, I think as we are moving on to some more, what I think could come out of our discussion here is the acceptance that SIDS face serious challenges. They are unique, many of them, but we still need to understand them much better than we do now. They can be surmounted, but they need a completely different mindset, both internally within the SIDS and in the international community. Thanks.